Okay, looks like we're live. So, hello everybody, and welcome to the first PyLadies India meetup. And we're so thrilled to be able to get all chapters of India together and have our very first PyLadies India meetup. And I'm Niharika Krishnan, and I'll be your host for today's event. So, a little bit about me. I graduated from college last year, and I'm currently working as an ML engineer. I believe in leveraging AI to help people lead better lives. So, my journey with PyLadies started in 2018 with my college mate Vishaka, where we started the Chennai chapter, and which led to contributing to PyLadies initiatives in PyCon India, and then giving my first international talk at PyCon Canada last year. It has been an amazing journey being a part of the community, and with PyLadies India now shaping up, I truly believe this is just the beginning. So before we get into the session, I would like to let you all know that we strictly follow the PyLadies Code of Conduct. Therefore, I request all of you to please adhere to that throughout the session. So, just a brief about PyLadies. So, we are an international mentorship group and we focus on helping women to become active participants and leaders in the Python open source community. We have around 100 plus chapters worldwide and around seven chapters here in India. So, all of us have got together to conduct this event this time. And so for this session, for the PyLadies India meetup, we had planned two sessions. One is Who We Are by PyLadies India, PyLadies India by Anvesha Das, and an hour-long tutorial session on building Github Bots by Mariatta. So we had initially planned that Anvesha was going to take the first session and be the moderator, but she recently got a surgery done and is unfortunately not in a condition to speak now. So I will be her voice today. And she has beautifully penned down her PyLadies journey, which I wish to read out to all of you. So with that, I'll just get that started. So hello friends, welcome. I am Anvesha. I lead the PyLadies efforts in India. I am an organizer at PyLadies Pune and PyLadies India. I'm a lawyer by education. I use Python to shape my legal projects. I love to play with hardware and in absolute love with MicroPython. I'm a blogger. I maintain my personal blog at anveshadas.in, and you can find me in my Twitter handle at anveshasrkr. I'm so excited to have all of you in here, but my health age pulled my excitement down. I had to get a tooth extracted today, which led to hurting my jawbone. So this ever talkative woman will be shutting her mouth for some time now. And so this amazing friend of mine, Niharika, is giving the voice to my thoughts. So I started my journey with PyLadies in 2016 as an organizer of PyLadies Pune. We were having meetups in Pune, but PyCon India 2016 was the place where the thought of PyLadies India emerged. PyCon community in India is predominated by men then and so now, unfortunately. So the community members who identify themselves as women found their place in that small PyLadies Pune booth. So we shared our stories, our journeys, and we found out how similar they were. And from the first day, wherever I was going, we were telling who we are, that is, we, PyLadies, and getting some not so good reaction to the change we saw. But at the end of that conference, we PyLadies ended in success, and with the initiation of one new chapter, PyLadies Delhi. So because of this, we gained respect and recognition in the eyes of the larger community. And from then on, at every PyCon India, we had at least one new chapter coming up. With a little bit of push and support, I had some amazing ladies come up, leading and sharing the PyLadies baton in India. Now we have 7 plus PyLadies chapters in India and many, many more to come. When I see these amazing friends of mine, I feel happy, proud, but more than that, I feel I have them to lean on, with whom the future of PyLadies is safe and secure. The chapters were running fine, and with a meeting every year in PyCon India, we were somewhat happy. But we felt the need of a united organization where all chapters will be a part of. It will be the face of PyLadies in India, a place where we will decide the future course of us, that is the PyLadies. The talks were on for some time, but now that the pandemic has given us the opportunity to embark into this journey, In these times, it is a necessity to move all meetups to an online platform. Also, it has given every chapter to increase their reach and not to be just bound by the local limits, right? So, but the problem with virtual is it came with a lot of challenges to us as chapter organizers. We had to decide on an online platform, we had to increase the bandwidth to help set up the platform and then run the event. But it also opened up a lot more choice of sessions of PyLadies across India and global so that all of them can attend and be a part of. So in the above circumstances, we different PyLadies chapters in India had decided to come up with a unanimous meetup and which is PyLadies India, right? So this is how it's going to go. So each meetup, each month, all chapters in India together will put up a session. But of course, if any chapter wants to have their own meetup, they are free to do it. There is no rationing on the types of on how many number of meetups we do. And so here we are with the first PyLadies session, and it is not an exaggeration to state that we actually owe the pandemic for this, right? So before we start with, there are a bunch of people I have to thank, and my dear friend Mariatta for being ever helpful and saying yes to come take the session. And all it took was for me to message her. I thank Nancy, Sakshi, and Harsh for taking care of the AV and the live recording. And this session would not have been possible without their help. So I would also like to thank Vaishnavi for making the amazing cool poster for our meetup today and sharing the social media responsibilities. And last but not the least, I would like to thank Niharika. She's one of the most super helpful and always agile people I've ever met. She was always present for all the responsibilities, be it handling social media, taking care of the communication, and being the moderator of today's session in a day's notice. Thank you all. And with this, I declare the first ever PyLadies India session open. So thank you, Anvisha, for those beautiful words. And we really hope you get well soon. And so our next session will be with Mariatta, who will be talking about PyLadies Global, and also followed by taking a session on GitHub Bots. So to give a brief intro, Mariatta is a Python core developer. She's a software engineer at Zapier. She's a Vancouver PyLadies co-organizer and one of the founding members of the PyCascades conference. She moved to Canada almost 2 months ago and now lives in Vancouver with her husband and her 2 children. In her free time, she contributes to open source, builds GitHub bots, fixes typos, and likes to tell you about F strings. So the session is going to be, so we will now move to, I kind of give the baton to Mariatta. So you could always ask us questions in our Twitter handle, which is @PyLadiesI, or in the YouTube live stream chat. And as and when you ask, I'll kind of pose it to Mariatta, and with that we can get started. Right? So, Mariatta, I think
yeah.
you're up.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so excited to be part of the first PyLadies India event. So thanks so much for having me. Let me share my screen. Let's see. Okay, do you see my screen? Just checking. All right. Well, yes. So I wanna give a bit introduction about PyLadies as a global organization, and we have heard a little bit about PyLadies India, and we also heard a little bit about a journey of some of the PyLadies India organizers' journey into PyLadies, Python, and PyLadies. So first of all, I wanna acknowledge that I work on this slide deck with Elaine and Lorena, and we presented this at PyCon US and at PyCascades. So that's why there are their names there. But I will not be giving a full presentation, but I will give, since there's already been some introduction about PyLadies, but I will be using the same slides. So, oops. Okay, so yeah, this presentation was initially prepared by myself and Elaine Wong from PyLadies Toronto and Lorena Mesa from PyLadies Chicago. So it's interesting and inspiring to hear Anwesha's and Nick Harika's journey about PyLadies, their journey to PyLadies, and it is very similar to our journeys. And when Elaine did share her own journey, and it sounds very similar that when she first, she has a background in journalism, and she was learning to some Python to become a better journalist. And when she started attending local Python meetup or local tech meetups, she felt it was not a very welcoming community. It was like she didn't feel like she fit in. Everybody looks different, and she's usually one of the few women. It just did not feel like a place where she belonged, and therefore she's looking for community where there will be more women, more people who look like her, and that's when she started going to PyLadies Toronto. And Elaine's story, Anwesha's story, Harika's story are not unique. In fact, when PyLadies started 9 years ago by 9 women, by Audrey Roy, Esther Nam, Christine Chung, Jessica Stanton, Catherine Jarmal, and Sandy Strong, and Sophia Fecklin, they face the same problem. They want to learn Python, but they want a group where they will be welcomed. And therefore, they formed the first PyLadies chapter that was in Los Angeles. And then Audrey wrote a grant to expand the PyLadies group with focus on education, conferences, and outreach. And that was approved by the PSF in the 2011. That's like almost exactly 9 years ago. So, and then PyLadies became a fiscal sponsoree. It becomes a direct project of the PSF. What it means is that there is a formal relationship between the PSF. PSF officially manages the finances related to PyLadies. So, and then PSF also obtained the rights, like the copyright to the PyLadies name. And then shortly after the PyLadies LA, we have the Melbourne PyLadies, followed by the DC PyLadies, and then the San Francisco PyLadies by Lynn Root in 2011. So it quickly started to grow this movement because we all need a community like the PyLadies, not just in LA, not just in India, everywhere. And since then, we've grown. We've really grown. I think I will have some stats later on. Yeah, here are just some of the successes that we have within our PyLadies group. Back in 2017, Lynn Root received a PSF Community Service Award. And since then, since 2011, an effort that started by 9 people, this has become a global movement. It has become an internationally recognized brand, an international mentorship group with focus on helping women become more active leaders in the Python and open source community through open source, through education, through networking, and by building, helping, and foster community. So before we can think about the future of PyLadies, we want to evaluate whether this mission still reflect the current needs of PyLadies today. So I think like looking back, we have come a long way. So we want to look at some of the wins, some of the things that we can celebrate. So yeah, these are the stats that we have. Since 9 years ago, PyLadies has become very global. We have more than 90 active chapters across 33 countries, and our members speak 11 different human languages. But the growth of our chapters are mostly outside of Europe and outside of United States. Like it is, in fact, in places like Brazil, Africa. I see some growth in Africa as well. So, and as of now, we have started a formal uh, membership that you can register as either as a voting members or a basic members. Basic means you can receive newsletters and updates. As a voting member, you will get to vote in the upcoming election. We look at the history of gender diversity at PyCon US. Like 9 years ago, in 2011, when PyLadies started, there was only 1% of speakers are women. And by like in the 5 years, by 2016, it increased to 40%. So this, I think PyLadies has some involvement to make this happen. And we have asked various PyLadies, like, what does PyLadies mean to them? And Madeline Campos said it means inclusion, support, knowledge sharing, safe learning environment, opportunity, and new friends. Fasiki Chauhan said PyLadies Live is the only platform where she feels comfortable answering other people's programming questions. And it's hard to overcome the fear of being harshly judged about one's level of competence when you identify as a woman. And PyLadies goes a long way in helping me overcome that barrier. Guido van Rossum, the creator of Python, said, I heard PyLadies. Thank you all so much for making Python's community more diverse and not just gender. I fancy myself a feminist and an ally, but you do the hard work and make it stick. So way to go, PyLadies. So these are comments of what PyLadies mean to people. And speaking about Guido van Rossum, like in 2015 at PyCon US keynote, he gave this presentation and said that there was no female Python core developers at all, even though Python has existed for more than 20 years. There was no women attending Python Language Summit 2015. And now we have heard your stories about being involved with PyLadies. This is PyCon 2015, and this keynote was one of my earliest involvement with Python and PyLadies. I was there at the audience in person. I received financial aid from PyLadies, and it was this very speech that inspired me to start contributing to Python and eventually became a Python core developer. So I truly believe that if women can see other women being present and participating in open source in conferences, when they see themselves represented, they got inspired to start doing the same. If there was no female core developers and no women attending Python Language Summit 2015, 2 years later, there are 3 women attending, and this year there were 7 women attending the Language Summit. I have been organizing the last 2 Python Language Summit, in fact, 2019 and 2020. And if there was no women at all, as Python core developers a few years ago, now we have 6 women. and we are doing better, but I think we are not done. It is an improvement, but we are not done. We can do much better. And diversity is not just gender. There are other dimensions in diversity that we can work on. So we have successes, but at the moment, the current PyLadies model does not actually scale. Since the beginning, the each PyLadies groups have been very self-organized. They organize, like they are, I would say, somewhat isolated. Like if I want to run a PyLadies Vancouver, I get to run it freely with my co-organizers without needing a lot of help or direction or coordination from the global PyLadies or other PyLadies groups. While this has helped us grow really widely and become a well-known international brand. It is now this is now a challenging this is now a challenging model, because when each groups are self-organized, they may be doing things on their own that might have already been done by other groups. Say if we are writing presentations for our group, it is very likely another group has written a same kind of presentation, like therefore duplicating an effort. So that is one of the issues that I see that local groups face. Like they do not need to start from the beginning if some of the things have been done by other groups. Other issues that we see is that there is no clear governance. We do not have a PyLadies board of directors to help shape or govern over the entire PyLadies groups, and there is no clear way on how each group can get funding from the global PyLadies. There is no such administration or coordination or whatnot. So it has been a problem. Now, if we see another example of a good, more global PyLadies community, PyLadies Brazil is one good example. There are at least 20 chapters throughout Brazil, and then there is an umbrella global PyLadies Brazil group where each of the 26 or some chapters are actively communicating and working with each other. They are not just one individual groups working on their own. And the global, the Brazil PyLadies is led by Deborah Azevedo. And it is we can see that this is a successful model, like having a global group managing managing and helping the individual chapters. So this is one of the things that we are trying to create and push for the we want to start having a more formal global PyLadies. So we are starting to rebuild the PyLadies brand. So a few years ago, actually this is last year, sorry, not few years ago. So last year, several of the PyLadies leaders from worldwide met at PyCon US, and we discussed of how we want to take PyLadies to the future. We have a little retro about PyLadies. We determine what are the current challenges, And with this, from this meeting, we started continuing to plan and organize a global PyLadies. So that meeting was in fact attended by various PyLadies leaders from North America, Latin America, from Africa, India, and the UK. So it was not just, we did not run this with only US or Canadian PyLadies members, but we did involve the PyLadies leaderships from the world. And from there, we started thinking about what will be the PyLadies global governance look like. And we actually proposed several governance models, and our members voted. Let's see. So we will be doing an election, a general PyLadies Global Council member election. We will be choosing the members of the PyLadies Board of the Directors, and these informations have been translated to several languages, mostly the UN languages. So we know that we are being inclusive. We are not just catering to English-speaking community. So these informations were translated to Arabic, Chinese, French, Portuguese, and Russian and Spanish. So we have voted on the governance model and how the election will happen. The council will be chosen by a blend of nominations and public elections. So there will be several people who will be chosen by the interim PyLadies leadership, and then there will be several seats where people can run for election and be elected by the members. So that is what's going to happen next. We, in fact, at the same time right now, Lorena is running another sprint to help get the PyLadies election website so that we can start running the election. The dates that you see in the slides here, we are a little bit behind because of COVID-19 and other challenges. But we want to get the election up and running, so you can, as a PyLadies member, you will be able to register either as a member or a voting member. And if you are a voting member, you can vote. So do, how do I say this? Yeah, do look, stay in touch and be on the lookout for this information to come out. So that's about PyLadies. So thank you so much. And if you would like more information, as a PyLadies member, you can join us in Slack to learn more about the efforts that the global PyLadies leadership is doing. We do meet monthly. Those are open source. We posted meeting notes in the PyLadies Global Organizing repository. And you can always join us and follow us on Twitter. And to register as a PyLadies member, go to the URL bit.ly/PyLadies membership registration. So that's the presentation about PyLadies. Yeah, well, that was long. Sorry. Yeah, and any questions about any of this? Perhaps I'll stop sharing. All right. If there is no questions, should I go ahead with the next session, which is giving a tutorial about GitHub Bots? All right, cool. Let's move on to tutorial about GitHub Bots. Just 1 second. while I pull the presentation. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay, so I think you all see the slides, build your own GitHub bots with GitHub. Yes, okay. All right. So I will start with just a short presentation, a little bit of introduction of GitHub bots and how it can be made easier if you use the GitHub library. And then after this, I will do some live demo of like using the library and like building I will show you the steps of creating the GitHub bots from, well, I wouldn't say from scratch, but from some of the sample codes that I have written. So yeah, let's start. So first of all, whoops, let me hold on. I could not advance. What are GitHub bots? These bots are applications that runs automations on GitHub using things called webhooks and GitHub APIs. Excuse me. So I thought I like to show this timeline. These are activities within the same one pull request to show what are the things that a human person can do, and what are the things that a GitHub bot can do. So on the left side, first one is, this is Yuri, who is a Canadian Python core developer, and you can see that in the pull request, he does only two things. He applies labels, and then he review and approve the pull request. And by applying labels, he actually command the bot, that is Miss Islington on the right. When he applied the label, this backport to 37, the bot catches that. It knows that we need to backport this pull request, and then it does several things. It says thanks for the PR. It gives it like an acknowledgement, say yes, I got the message, and then it actually create a commit and creates another pull request that is the backport pull request that was requested by Yuri. Once Yuri approved the pull request, it automatically checks that all the CI has passed. Once it all passed, it knows everything is green. The bot merged the commit and deleted a branch. So you can see like the bot does a lot more things compared to the person. And this is why it is useful to help save you time, and you get to do only the important things that require human to do. That is reviewing and approving pull requests. And the little chores like deleting a branch, merging, checking for status status checks, those are delegated to a bot. So this is like one use case of why you would want to build a GitHub bot. Oops, let's see. And since I've learned how to build GitHub bots, I started building my own personal assistant, my own personal GitHub bot that is called Blackout. What it does is, when I have a pull request, I do not want to run Black. Black is a Python code formatter. I don't want to run it manually myself, so I make the bot does it. So I just apply the label blackout, then my bot sees the label, and then it runs black on my pull request, and then recommit those code with the changes. and then it lets me know which files has been touched and fixed by the bot. So this is a bot that I built for myself, and I think only myself can install it. So if you want it, you have to build your own bot for now. So okay, anyway, how does the bot really works? So I want to explain some key concepts about webhooks and APIs. So on GitHub, you can configure your repository to accept webhooks. You can receive events like if a pull request has been opened, a pull request was closed, or there is a pull request review was submitted and everything. So there are various events that you can receive notification about. And in order to receive those notifications, GitHub needs to send those events to a web service. That means a publicly available web that can be accessed by GitHub. So it cannot be a service that is running on your local machine. Um, for web service, there are various options for you. In Python, you can build a web service using things like Django, Flask, Django REST framework, and there are various web framework that you can use. And there are also async web frameworks like Tornado, AIO, HTTP, and HTTPX. And there's Track as well. That is async web framework. So this is one direction from GitHub. GitHub is telling us about events that happened on GitHub by sending webhooks. Now, once your web service receives those events, it can perform some actions on GitHub by using API, by making API calls. And these APIs can be REST APIs. In fact, GitHub now supports GraphQL as well. But for this tutorial, we will be using REST, and which is their v3 of the API. So with APIs, you can do various things like creating a pull request, merging a pull request, or leaving comments, or applying labels. Those can be done by your web service by calling these APIs. So maybe you're thinking that it sounds so complicated. You need a web service and everything. So with the GitHub library, this is actually very easy. GitHub is a library that is designed specifically for working with GitHub and for building GitHub bots. So it has the framework in place to handle incoming webhooks from GitHub, and then with GitHub library, you can also make API calls. So GitHub works on Python 3.6 and up, and this is an async library, so it only supports async web frameworks, and the currently supported ones are AIO HTTP, Tornado, and HTTPX. And GitHub is licensed under Apache version 2.0, and it is open source. This GitHub is maintained by Brad Cannon, and I am also the co-maintainer of this project. And another interesting fact that we are both Canadian and from Vancouver Python core developers. So yeah, I'd like to give this example. This is a comparison of how you can do the same thing using request library or with GitHub and AIO HTTP. So on the left is a sample code for making, for making API calls to GitHub using request library. So first you need to construct the special request headers needed by GitHub. So you need to pass in the user agent headers, the authorization, the accept, and then you make an API call to GitHub. You need to specify the full URL such as https api.github.com/the API endpoint. So that's how you can do the same thing with request. Now on the right is the sample code for doing the same thing, but using GitHub library and using AIO HTTP web framework. So you notice that instead of manually constructing the request headers, you do not need to care about the user agent or the authorization or the accept. Those are abstracted out and GitHub takes care of it internally. And when you make an API call to GitHub, that is the line where it says await gh.get item. That API call, you notice we do not need to pass in the full URL. We do not need to pass in https api.github.com. That's because GitHub internally knows to append those when it internally makes the API call. So it abstracted out that details. So you only need to care about the actual API endpoint that is like repo/something. So it simplifies the code basically if you compare the how it works with request and GitHub. So I mentioned about webhooks, and I said GitHub provides the framework to handle webhook events. So, and not only it allows it, how do I say this? So not only it has the framework, it also takes care of verifying the webhook secret and payload delivery from GitHub. So you really only need to be concerned about the actual logic of the webhook. The code on the right, there are like 5 lines of code. These are an actual working example of how to automatically close a pull request as soon as it gets open. So there are like the two router registry, the two decorator lines on the top, router.register pull request action opened, and another one is pull request action reopened. This is how we tell the framework to say that I want to listen to the webhook events whenever a pull request is opened or reopened. So those 2 lines does that. And then the await gh.patch, that line is like, it's actually 1 line passing in other parameters. That 1 line close a pull request. It is just that 1 line. You pass in the pull request URL and you pass in the state equal close. That's the call to say close this particular pull request. So it's really just 4 lines, and it makes it really simple. And starting in GitHub 4.10, it supports building GitHub apps. That's the bot. GitHub apps is basically, if I've shown you the example of a blackout bot where it says bot in the username, that is done through GitHub apps, and this is now supported by GitHub. Let's see. There is also support for GitHub Actions, but we will not go through it we will not go through this in my tutorial. So for a more complete tutorial for building GitHub bots, I have written a more complete tutorial that is linked here, GitHub App tutorial. And in fact, after this, I will be showing some demos using that tutorial material. Like I will be going through that. I will go through this tutorial with you after this and show you some code examples just to demo building the GitHub apps. However, you can always, like, this does takes at least 2-3 hours to complete from beginning to finish. So if you want like to do this in your own pace, you can always go through the website and do it on your own. So that's the presentation I have. Before I go through demos, is there any questions that I can help answer?
Do we have any questions on the YouTube slide, YouTube chat? No questions. Okay, Mariatta, I think we could like go ahead with the demo so that looks like there are no questions at this time.
All right, so let's actually open let's open this URL. Actually, I have this opened already. Yeah, so this is the tutorial. If you need the URL again, it's up here. That's the URL to this website. And I will pass in some of the information which I have already discussed in my presentation. So I will show you how you can generate a personal access token for GitHub and then use that to write a script for automatically creating an issue on GitHub without actually going to GitHub. So I've described the steps here. What we need is generating a personal access token. You can just click on that link, and of course you basically need you do need a GitHub account. And I should mention my code examples is assuming you are using the public GitHub and not the enterprise GitHub. So if you are using enterprise GitHub, I think the difference is you will be using a different URL endpoint. However, GitHub does support enterprise GitHub, and you can read more in the documentation of GitHub on how to do that. Okay, so personal access token. So generate a new token. Okay, key. Take some time. What's going on? Okay, so the note here is just something to remind you what this token was created for, because you can have multiple access tokens. So let's say PyLadies India demo token, and for now I will choose repo. Let me see. Yeah, just the repo that I need for this tutorial. If you need additional permission, you want your bot to do more than just accessing the repo, you'll check off one of you will check any of this that you need. But for this demo, just this. Now, this is the token that you will only see it this one time. And in fact, you have to keep this secret. I know this is a live stream. I will be using this. You can see my token for now, but after this, I will delete it, so you cannot use it. But basically, with this token, you can use this as a way to identify yourself through the API. So when you pass in this token to the GitHub API, it knows that this is you, and That's how it associates with your account. You will see this only once. I will actually copy it to a text maybe for now. I call it auth. Again, you should keep this very secret, but this is just for demo. All right. Now that we have token, we can start using it. So, okay, let's set it as an environment variable. And my token is here. All right, now I'm gonna take this will be a demo. Oops. Okay, so I have set it as an environment variable, and so now I wanna write a code to automatically create an issue on my personal repo. This is not the code, but this is a starting point. This okay, actually I will open the repository I just created. I will call it create issue. So these 4 lines is basically printing a hello world to terminal. It does not use GitHub yet, but we will modify this code just to show you how it works. 37-m create issue, I think that's what I call it. So you see the hello world there that we printed here. So now that we actually want to start using GitHub, we need to add these imports. Okay. And replace hello world with this piece of code. So instead of printing hello world, what I'm doing here is we're instantiating a session with AIO HTTP client. And then in this line, we are instantiating the GitHub API using GitHub. So GitHub API is imported from the GitHub library. Mariatta is basically my username, my GitHub username. And then I'm passing in the token. So the auth is the token that I have just saved as environment variable. So that line is basically retrieving the auth environment variable. So that's what this is about. Now we have the GitHub API. Let's say I want to create an issue. Let's look at the GitHub's documentation on how to create an issue. If you go to the documentation, okay, create an issue, it says basically make a post request to this URL and pass in these parameters. So here's an example of the parameter to be passed. So how to do this using GitHub code, you will call await because it's an async ch.post. That's how you say I'm making a post request. And then we need to pass in the API endpoint. So what I want to do is I have a tester, I have this repo which I create just for experimenting. I don't want to be creating repo in actual open source projects just for testing my script. So I use this. So I will be passing in my repos, my username and that repo name. So replace this with what I have just put in just now, pass in the data. So if we remember from the documentation, it says pass in the title that is required and the body. So pass in the title just like that, testing the API, and then the body is Hello PyLadies India. All right, that's all. This is the code to automatically create an issue with this in my repo. So I will actually run this, but before that I should install the dependencies. I need to create a virtual env. So pip install pip AIO HTTP and Github. So once I'm done that, if I run again the same script like the create issue script, it shows it's done. And if I actually go to my issues here, there is a new issue created by the script that says Hello PyLadies India, and it just got created. Yeah, so that's a quick demo of how to call it GitHub APIs and how to read the documentation for GitHub APIs and how to use GitHub. Any questions so far about this?
I don't think so. I can't see anything on the channel.
Okay.
No idea.
All right. How much more time do I have?
Probably around half an hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes
Okay.
more.
All right. And in that case, all right. So that's a quick demo. And then if you go through my tutorial, I actually have some more exercises that you can try at home. Like you can try for yourself how to close that issue you just created, and then how to add a reaction to an issue. I'll leave you to do that on your own. So now let's look into how to build a GitHub app now. I have described earlier about the webhooks, so I will not describe this in more details. I will talk a little bit more about the authentication for a GitHub app. So you remember I've shown you how we generate the personal access token, and it shows that by using that token, GitHub knows that this was Mariatta, this was you. The thing is, you need to generate this token ahead of time. So a GitHub app is basically something that you can install in various repos by actually various people. So it doesn't make sense to have that personal access token. Like you cannot be asking the users of your app, give me your personal access token so I can make API calls on your behalf. So it has a different way to authenticate the API calls, and it's basically it's a little bit more complicated. But basically, what you need is installation ID and installation access token, and these are all actually handled by GitHub. Like there are, I think I've shown this in my presentation. Like basically, you need to use, make it bigger. you can generate the access token by calling the GitHub's get installation access token. And then I think you will also need to call the get JWT. So these two coroutines, this is a coroutine and this is a function. This will help with the building GitHub app. And this is a little bit more complicated. So basically we will have to go back and forth between the code and GitHub, and then we also need to deploy our web service to Heroku. As I mentioned, the web service for receiving webhooks cannot be like your local host or something like that. So I've written the steps here. I will actually just be going through this as a demo, and then again, if you need to do this on your own time in a slower pace, you can do that by going through this tutorial yourself. So I have actually a repo which I created just for the tutorial. I will actually just clone this locally. Clone. So git clone, actually no. Yes. All right. So now I can open that repo. All right, so what I have here is the code is a little bit long, but this is there are the first 10 or so lines are just imports. Basically, we're importing the necessary libraries for the web service, and this part is basically this is a handler. Basically, this is how I define that the root URL, the slash URL of my website, it will return just a hello world. And then so it has the get method. It allows REST get method. So meaning if you just open the website to the root URL, you will see hello world. Now the webhook here, this is where we will have all the logic for handling webhooks from GitHub. Most of these are set up that I think you can leave them as is. You do not need to change any of this. You can just leave them. This is how we define the GitHub API. We've seen this in the previous example of where I created the issue. So this is all the logic for receiving the webhook, but you can leave this alone. And then in the bottom, this is how you start running the web service. When you run, this is the main function of the file. We started the AIO HTTP application. We add the routes. So the routes are basically, these are the routes that we have defined, the slash and the slash webhook routes. That's how they got used here. And these three lines are needed if you are running this in Heroku, which this is what we will be using in this tutorial. So if you are using another provider like AWS, you might need something different, like you might need to pass in the port. That's something you have to figure out. But in Heroku, this piece of code will work as is, and You also do not need to modify this. So the only important thing we need to look at is here. This is where we say if we receive the installation created, meaning the installation created event, meaning if somebody installed our GitHub bot, we will do something. In this tutorial, my tutorial, what I will do is say thanks to the person who installed my bot, saying just thanks for installing me, looking forward to work with you and help you automate, something like that. So this is what we will be modifying. Um, so that's the code. Actually, let me just quickly show you how it looks. So GitHub boilerplate. So do I have? Okay. So for the web service, we have some additional required dependencies we need to install. So I will install them now. Requirements. Okay. And if we just run the web service, now it says it's running. So if I go to this local URL, so this is the root URL, we see the hello world. So that is basically executing this code here. So we know this code is working. Okay, any question about this so far? Or if any of you have questions about this as well before I go?
There was one thing. So, how do people reach out to you if they have a query, or once they actually implement it at home? How can they reach out? Where do they
Okay,
go?
yeah, my information is here in the tutorial. So actually go to, you can either tweet at me like DM, that is open. And I think I leave my information here. So my email is mariatta@python.org.
Okay, I think we could just put that up on our YouTube live chat, so then people could ping you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can either DM me on Twitter at Mariatta or send an email.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. All right, then let's do the next step. Yeah.
No, nothing. You could carry on. Thanks.
Okay. All right. We have the web service. Let's deploy to Heroku. Okay, let's do that. Go to Heroku. And new app. PyLadies India to demo. And I am going to just connect it to my my GitHub, so it's easy. So let's see, GitHub App boilerplate. So that is my that is where I have this code on GitHub. But obviously, when you create this, you will choose your own repo. What this does is you can deploy that whole web service directly from Heroku, and then it can even like automatically deploy whenever you merge it to master. Like if you have changes to the web service, you create a pull request and then you merge it, it just gets automatically deployed to Heroku. So I will choose enable and I will deploy it right now. Okay. This is the log. So we know whether the deploy has finished. It says this has been deployed to Heroku. Let's go there. Right, so we see hello world. So we know now this is up on the internet and available. So now we can start using the webhook. So if we go to the webhook, because in our code we say we're only allowing the post request. So the get request is not allowed, but it exists. So now that's when we need to do the next steps from the tutorial. So then create a GitHub app, go there. So that is GitHub settings/apps. Say I want to create a new GitHub app. Let's call it PyLadies India demo. You can name it anything you like. Demo for PyLadies India June 2020. And the webhook is active, and we want to say webhook URL is, the webhook URL will be the URL like of our Heroku app, the /webhook. So copy that URL, put it here, and webhook secret is, it says optional, but actually GitHub requires it. So you need to specify a secret. I'm just going to put something simple for now, BCB. And remember this, the repository permissions. Let's say, what does my tutorial say? Issues and pull requests, read and write. Okay. Issues, read and write. Pull requests, read and write. Think that are, oh, sorry, I got the wrong thing. What I need is this. Check the pull request. So this is in the subscribe to events section. Check the pull request. Check the issues as well, I think. What did I say? Set permission. Okay. And I think I need a repository. No, I think those two are what I need. And for now, I'm going to restrict this app because we're still testing. It's just going to be installed on my account, so nobody else will use it. But once you are ready to make this bot available to everybody, you can switch that to any account. But for now, let's make this just for ourselves. Oh, homepage cannot be blank. All right, I can put this as homepage. Okay, now the next step is we need to put this, okay, we need to generate a private key. Just click that button and then it will be downloaded. If you can see down here, I know it's small, but you should see that downloaded. So now we need to go back to here, to Heroku, and go to settings. So if you remember from when I was writing the code for creating an issue using my token. I have the token stored as environment variables. We will be doing that as well for this. We will be storing those whatever important token as environment variables. And the way to do that in Heroku is by going to settings, and then those are basically added as config files. These are the same as environment variables. So you will add several information there. The first thing we need is the app ID. So call it gh app ID that. Then I think we need the app ID, gh secret. We don't need to store this for now, but we need the gh secret. This is the webhook secret. That was ABCD, if you remember. But again, this should be secret, and you should maybe use a password generator to do this. But this is just for demo. And then the gh private key. Go back there, private key. And when we downloaded the private key here, which I downloaded here, let's see if I can just open it. If you open that, that private key file, it has a really big text like this. Copy the entire text into that text box and press add. So that's that. Let's see, I think that's done. All right, so those are the pretty annoying setup things that we have to do, like going back and forth Heroku and GitHub. But now that those are done, we can start actually writing the code to say thanks whenever somebody installed the GitHub app. So I have added this helper, like I have defined this in the code, as you can see. So this is where we will receive the event. Somebody has installed the app. So the important things here, the event data and the GitHub. So let's take a step back. So what we really want to do is we receive the event that somebody installed it, and then we want to create an open an issue that says, hey, thank you. And we already know how to open an issue before, and that is by calling the gh post to specific URL and passing the title and body in the data. So that we've done this in a previous step. Closing an issue is I have another example in the previous section, but it is basically, this is the line like we call gh patch. So instead of passing in the auth token, we will be generating an installation access token first. So just copy this line. So this code, this line here is how we will get the installation access token. And this is a built-in coroutine in GitHub. You are passing in the installation ID, which we received from the webhook event. The app ID was the environment variable that we just stored in Heroku, and the private key is also the environment variable that we stored in Heroku. So that's why we needed to add these two things here. So once we have installation access token with those information, Okay. So we just need to pass the token to the post request. Okay. Now what about the URL? Previously in my previous example, oh, excuse me. I showed like we basically hard coded the URL, right? But since we are installing this as a GitHub app, we don't know where it got installed. It could be anywhere. We cannot be hard coding it. But if you look, but this information is actually passed to the webhook as the payload. So I can show the actual GitHub documentation about it. Installation. So when GitHub sends you the webhook event, it actually the installation event, it passes in this really big JSON object. It has a lot of information, but within this data that GitHub sent to you, there are things like let me see, it's actually here. Like this is the, is this the right installation event? Like it says repositories. Okay. Yeah, so it actually passed in like where that GitHub app was installed to. So we will actually just copy this, and that big JSON data is passed in to the webhook in the event here. So you access it something like event data and then the key to that field. So I will actually just copy. I will actually copy this since we are getting short on time. Okay, so we can find out who installed the app by accessing the sender login, and we can access where the repository is by accessing the event data repository added. And the message we will send is, thanks for installing me. I'm a bot, I will say, for PyLadies India. Demo. Okay. So since I make the change to the code, I will commit it. Thanks for the demo. Commit it and push to my repo. Okay, so when I did the commit and push, it actually got updated. Yeah, I made the commit. Now that we made a commit, I want to deploy it. So we go back to Heroku and say deploy it. Okay, now that is deployed, that means we have the GitHub app, and so go back to your GitHub app where you created it, choose install, so click the install and install it, and I just want it for a specific repo, so that is okay. So I have installed it. Let's go to my repo. And okay, I think it's not working. Let me see. PyLadies demo funds. Okay, so looks like there's an issue. Actually, there's an issue here as well. I'm getting a 500 error. Okay, this is working. Okay, there's an issue here. Let's take a look. Heroku logs. Okay, you know what? I think GitHub changed their API. I promise this code used to work. So let me actually see what happens here. Okay. Okay, what happened is we received the installation created event. However, okay, so it's actually, okay, actually we need to look at repositories. Sorry. So instead of repositories added, I needed repositories because that's what they sent here. So just 1 second, I will make the change and deploy this. Fix the repositories. Push. Okay, so now make sure it is deployed. I will say deploy. It's done. So I do not need to try to reinstall it, but actually I could just go to my GitHub apps, to the webhook deliveries here in the advanced, and I know that this was erroring, so I will just redeliver, and now it's successful. And now if I go to my repo and look at issues, there is a new issue created by the bot. It knows that it was installed by me, and this is the bot for the PyLadies India repo, and it has the little indicator that this is a bot. So that's the bot that we just built. Yeah, I think that's the end of my demo and tutorial. And again, I know it's long, but if you go through this, it will be, you can try this at home yourself. But I will adjust this so it will be correct. I will fix this. So yeah. All right. Any questions so far? Let me stop
Yes,
presenting.
there were a few questions which came up on our Twitter DM. Let me just ask you. So, one is, which is your favorite password generator?
Oh, uh, there was one that I use. If you have things like one password or one of those password management, just use those. If you do not have, there is a strong password generator website that I usually use. Um, yeah, passwordsgenerator.net. But whenever possible, I have one password that I subscribe to. It
Mhm.
can generate passwords for you. So yeah.
Okay. Um, there was also one more question. If someone wants to start her journey to become a C Python code developer, where do they start?
The first things is read the developer's guide. So that is devguide.python.org. It has the guide on how to contribute to CPython in general, like the technicalities. It tells you which repos we use, what are our repos, what is our issue tracker, what are our communication channels. Say um, we have several mailing lists like Python Dev. Um, I would say read the dev guide and participate in the mailing list. Subscribe to the Python Dev mailing list. That's where we discuss issues related to CPython development. So I think it's not just about finding an issue and working on it.
Okay.
Um, it's also about participating and discussing um, and like sharing your voice and be visible, so that we know you are contributing, you are participating, and not just you know looking for issues. The other channel that we use is discuss.python.org. That's another forum as well. So we have the Python dev mailing list and discuss.python.org. I would say start there before starting to think about I want to work on an issue. Just get to know the community. Like we do more than just opening and closing issues. So that's my suggestion.
So, would it be possible if you could share us those links and probably we could update it and send it across through our YouTube channel or through GitHub? Or,
Okay,
so,
should I type it in the chat here?
yes, that would be great.
Okay. Uh, devguidepython.org. I gave that. Um, Let me find the Python dev. Oh, discusspython.org. Issue tracker is still on python.org. And our CPython repo is at github.com/python/cpython. And I want to say Python dev mailing list. Okay. Python dev mailing list. I think those are the links.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think we covered
Yeah.
this. And there was one more. It's not a question. It is a message by Vishakha. So she liked the way you explained, and it was very simplified. And I think she hopes to implement it after this.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Do we have any other questions on the YouTube channel? Okay. So yeah, there are basically feedback coming up. There's one by Pavitra. Thank you so much for the sessions, Mariatta and Resha. And so yeah, so I think pretty much this has been a great session. I think all of us have got a good insight into building and deploying a GitHub bot. And so let me, sorry, just a minute. Yep. So with that, we would like to thank you thank you a lot to actually come and give this hands-on tutorial. And it's to think of it that you're literally on the other side of the globe, and it's at 8 o'clock probably now, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning. Thank you so much for doing this. And so this is from all chapters across India, from Delhi, Pune, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Bhubaneswar, Mumbai, and every other PyLadies chapter. All organizers, we all thank you a lot. And we will in fact, so all these links and all the complete GitHub repo and everything which Mariatta just shared and explained, we will be posting it up on our social media handles. And if you guys have any queries, including her contact details, and if you want to reach out to her personally for any queries you have, you guys could always ping us on any of this or mail it directly to Mariatta. So thank you so much. Thank you to all the viewers to join in for our first PyLadies India meetup. And thanks Anvesha, thanks Mariatta, thanks to the PyLadies India team. Thank you.